Hello, dear friends of the Eurovision Song Contest. Hello, we are happy to welcome you at the very first Eurovision's Conference online due to the, of course, COVID crisis that we had to suffer. And we didn't only have to suffer the crisis, we had to suffer the cancellation of the Eurovision Song Contest. This is why we are today here online, and I'm happy to be surrounded with three beautiful girls, not girls, women scholars who are doing a wonderful job in the scientific community. So I'm very pleased to welcome here Carla Figueira, Isabella Campello.
Yes, me, thank you.
Sofia Vera Lopes, with whom I started the Eurovision's Conference in 2018 in Lisbon. It was her idea to do it in this wonderful country, in this wonderful city of Lisbon, and with wonderful colleagues. So I hand over this introduction to
Hello, thank you for being with us and welcome to Eurovision's online edition. I'm Sofia, I'm a researcher in the Ethnomusicology Institute in Lisbon, and I was pushed by Irving 2 years ago to start this Eurovision's project that is now this year in a different format, but we are expecting you in the following year in Rotterdam. So I pass the word to my colleague, Isabel, I think.
So hello everybody and welcome to the Eurovision's Conference online. Like Sofia, I'm also a researcher in ethnomusicology at INET, Institute of Ethnomusicology of Universidade of Nova University of Lisbon. I'm also a singer. And as such, I participated in some Portuguese national selection contests, and I also participated in one of the Eurovisions a long time ago. So it's very interesting to be here, both as a researcher and as someone who knows a little bit of how the Eurovision Song Contest is constructed. So I'm very happy to be here, and now I'm going to hand it over to my colleague and friend, Carla Figueira.
Thank you, Isabel. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the third edition of EUROVISIONS, your international conference for the Eurovision Song Contest. So I'm a lecturer and a researcher at Goldsmiths, University of London, and I got involved in these conferences first in Lisbon as a participant in the conference, as a not so young researcher, as we have that section in our conferences, and then in the following session also organizing it, and now I continue to collaborate with my colleagues. But I'm not going to delay anymore the start of our proceedings today, and I apologize for the technical problems we had at the beginning. We are new at this, like everyone, trying to deal with the consequences and the impact of the pandemic. So for you today, we have 3 interviews that will be followed by a roundtable. And without further delay, I'm just going to move on to the first recorded interview, and this first recorded interview is with John Uden from OGAE Netherlands, and he's going to give us a perspective of a fan in Rotterdam that dealt obviously with the excitement of having the ESC in Rotterdam and then having it cancelled, but of course now we have the hope of having it next year there again. We move on now to our interview. So hello everyone. For today's interview, we have John van Uden. John is an expert and a fan of the Eurovision Song Festival, a board member of OGAE Netherlands, the Dutch Eurovision fan club, and is also the co-organizer of Amsterdam Calling, an annual party where artists and fans of the Eurovision Song Contest from Europe meet. In daily life, John van Uden is a lecturer and coordinator at Avans Fontis Law College. So we've invited John today to reflect a little bit on the journey of the fans regarding Rotterdam 2020. So we had the joy of having Duncan Lawrence winning in Tel Aviv. Then obviously with the COVID-19 situation, what was planned for Rotterdam 2020 had to be cancelled. But we have great expectations for next year, for Rotterdam 2021. But I would start actually probably asking John to tell us a little bit more about himself and also about his role in OGAE Netherlands, please. Hello, John.
Hello, Carla. Thank you for having me. I've been a Eurovision fan as long as I can remember, which is a long time because I'm 57 at the moment. My first actual knowledge of seeing a Eurovision Song Contest was the one where Vicky Leandros won. So you can do the math. It's a long time ago, but ever since then I was intrigued by the contest in some way. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the songs. I enjoyed the competition, different countries, and later on in the year 2000, for the first time, I decided I would like to be there in the venue, and I did at that time. Went to Stockholm. Which was May 13th in the year 2000, which was a very unlucky day for the Netherlands because we had the fireworks disaster, as you might remember. So the good thing was I could see the entire contest live, while in the Netherlands the TV program was cancelled.
Yeah.
So that was a good thing, but well, it was not a very happy day altogether. So that was less nice. But in the years after that, I visited a few more cities and contests. So that made up for the false start, you might say.
Sure.
Well, in about 7 years ago, it was, I think, I thought, I was a member of OGAE Netherlands because it was easier to get access to tickets for the contest. So that was the main reason to become a member. But I thought, well, maybe I could do something more in the fan club. So I applied to be a member of the board, and I am since then. So yeah, so that's the story of many years in in just a few minutes.
Can I ask you? Sorry, interrupting.
Yeah, please do.
Your decision then to become part of the let's say official fan club. You know, obviously there's access to the tickets. That is a big draw for many people. But how did that change also your experience of the event? Because obviously you kind of become part of this network, and it's alive all year. It's not just Eurovision week.
No, that's true. When I joined, the club was not very big. I think we had then about 300 members, and most members were like me, so they became member because the ticket access was more easy. At that time, all members who applied for tickets could actually get the tickets because there was we didn't have to disappoint anyone. But in the years after that, it had a lot to do with the change in perspective, I might say, of how in the Netherlands how the contest was seen, because we had another type of contestant, starting with Anouk, as you may know. She did a lot of good for the contest in our country. So we got more members. So we had to disappoint people because we couldn't supply them all with the tickets if they wanted. So that was how do you say, it involved more administration.
Yes.
Yeah. Which was not the first thing I like to do.
Of course.
but we became bigger in many in many ways. That's also when we thought of, well, we could do some other things for our fans instead of just being sort of a ticket agency. So that's when we decided to organize Amsterdam Calling, to start it. At that time, it was very small. It was in a small venue in Amsterdam City, but it became, well,
big.
Yeah, bigger. Each year bigger. So we did it in the Melkweg, which is it's a rather large stage in Amsterdam. For the last 4 times, and this would be the 5th in Melkweg, but well, we had to cancel it as well as a result of COVID. But that was fun to do because it was our own event, our own party.
Yes.
We organized it every year in April as a sort of a pre-party for Eurovision in concert, which is also in Amsterdam every year with a lot of contestants of that year. So they have their party at the Saturday night. So we organized the previous Friday. So for all fans to visit Amsterdam, it's a Eurovision packed weekend. So that was the idea, and it worked. So
it's part of the Eurovision calendar now. So it's one of the staple events.
Yeah. So we're proud that we managed to organize something that's really known with fans all over Europe.
Yes. And now that you already made the link with COVID-19, so but now starting, let's say, in a positive moment, maybe here on a personal insight. So what went through your mind when Duncan Lawrence won in Tel Aviv?
As you know, he was number 1 at the bookmakers already for a long time. So the chance he might win was very present.
But there's always the surprise element. You never know.
It's true. Yeah. I watched at home last year with friends, and it was very emotional for all of us at some point. So and also when afterwards I went into the city to celebrate with other people. Everyone was celebrating, happy, which was different, I think, from being there in Tel Aviv, because then of course we would be thrilled, and I know from other years that fans from the winning country are they go out of their head, out of their minds, but it's just that group, and all the other fans, they're not winners, and staying home and meeting people, celebrating, everyone's a winner.
Yeah, it's an enhanced atmosphere of celebration.
Yeah, everywhere and with everyone. So that was different, and it was a good thing. But I also thought, well, this is going to be one of a busy year, and it was.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that busy part.
Well, we knew that at some point there were a number of cities wanting to host the contest. There was one of them, which was Maastricht, that was very proactive and reached out to us before they were nominated even. So what should we do? They asked us to advise them, which we were very flattered about, as you might imagine. So we talked to them, and they were very open to what we thought, but we also noticed that they didn't know very much about what it was like to have a contest in the city. So they learned. But then there were just two, Maastricht and Rotterdam, and we thought, well, we have contacts with Maastricht. Maybe we can be proactive and make contact with the city of Rotterdam. So we did, and well, they were interested as well. And well, when the decision was made that Rotterdam would be the host city, we were invited in a very early stage to meet with the team or teams. They had several teams, and they wanted to hear our story, our perspective, our wishes, and also so that there were good meetings, good talks. Very sometimes a little bit slow, if you know what I mean.
Yes, with different partners, different machineries behind it.
Yeah. We also had meetings with the executive team of the contest, so with Sietse Bakker and his colleagues, who were also interested in what we might need. So we hoped to get more tickets for fans in general and Dutch fans in particular. So I think we managed a little bit of that of those wishes. So those were the parties we met with during during the period from September till February.
If you could, let's say, summarize what was kind of in your minds to make Rotterdam 2020 kind of the best ever. Obviously each city wants to differentiate, each club, when they're part of kind of the hosting team, want to make the difference. Was there sort of like a driving idea that you had in terms of what you wanted to make that was different?
Yes, we had lots of ideas. We had in an early stage we had a brainstorm with the fans from our club. I might say we started with the victory of Duncan with about 450 members we had at that time. Now, so it's a year later, we have 1,800. Wow. So so we sort of doubled and doubled it. But we asked them what they would like, we had our own ideas. So we were looking for a venue in Rotterdam, and we found one which would with different rooms for different atmospheres, different artists, different DJs, so we could make all those different ideas happen, and make all fans with different ideas happy.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit then more about that process of consultation of the fans? I think that's quite interesting. And what sorts of things were people wanting?
That was very well. We would organize a Eurofan cafe, which would be open the Eurovision week, from starting on Saturday, the first Saturday, until the last Saturday. So 8 days. That was our idea, and that's similar to other Eurofan cafes of recent years. But the way the other fan cafes were programmed was, well, not always, in our opinion, not always very well.
Could be improved.
Could be improved. Yes, that's it. It could be improved. So, and we thought we could do better, and we thought we could set the standard for years to come. So that's what we wanted, and the brainstorm or the fan consultation was a little bit based on what people had seen in past years, and particularly the Eurofan cafes in Copenhagen and Malmö and Stockholm, that were the ones that people were positive about and what they liked best. So we thought, well, maybe that's a sort of start position we could take. So we thought that's why we arranged. We wanted to arrange a venue with different rooms, and we were happy to find one. And in each room, well, we could have Eurovision quiz and performances, DJs, karaoke. But we also wanted to attract people who were not the hardcore fans as we are. So we wanted a Dutch night, so and other nights with a theme, and we asked fans all sorts of themes they wanted to they would like to visit. So we had well,
long list,
very many ideas, yeah. So that and that's what we discussed with the venue and with each other. We found an experienced producer who was involved in Malmö and Copenhagen. You might know him.
I know.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Right. So he flew over a couple of times to well to help us think and give his ideas and his knowledge to us. Yeah, well, that's what we did, and that's what we are planning to do next year. So I don't want to say
yes,
very
I
much
understand.
about it.
I understand. So
Yeah.
we have to keep tuning in to your plans for next year. I understand you don't want to say too much about it because it's the element of surprise. Yes,
Yeah,
fully understand that.
Yeah, but I think it will even be better as we would have done last week.
Yes, you've had more time,
yeah,
technically, to kind of think about it and do that planning. So in terms of, let's say, the reaction, obviously, because now we saw it was announced Rotterdam 2021, but in terms of let's say even your personal reaction and that of the fans you've been in contact and also the other partners in Rotterdam, how was the cancellation of the live event felt? Obviously, people probably started thinking about it when they saw that the COVID situation was getting worse. There was this atmosphere of, not sure what's going to happen. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, the COVID situation started here in February. We had the first patient in February. In the town where I live, that was. Yeah, right. Then we, with our team, or the organizing team, we spoke about it, but we did not think, well, May, far away, it'll blow over. That was the first thing we all thought and wanted to think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but we were also negotiating with the venue, as I said earlier, and they thought about it too, and they they put a break on what we were doing because they wanted to find out if there was any insurance, just in case. Of course. Yeah. So this took a while, and well, the situation didn't improve, didn't get any better. So the people from the venue, they well, they were in doubt. They said, well, don't know what to do. And still, some of us, well, they remain positive in the sense of, well, this will blow over. Well, that was in.
Yeah, it wasn't to be the case.
No, it wasn't to be the case. So, well, at the point that it was decided that Eurovision was cancelled, we then had to cancel Amsterdam Calling just before that. So we knew, well, that isn't going to happen. So then it's sunk
Started
in.
to sink in, yeah.
That well, it wasn't going to happen. So at the point of the formal decision, we knew in our hearts, well, we don't think it's going to.
It's going to happen.
But
and
no.
Then what was kind of, obviously it was, I imagine, some sense of frustration, sadness, but then what were, ideas? Okay, it's not happening in this way. What alternatives?
Yeah, well, we didn't really. We were very disappointed and in mourning, you might say. So we weren't ready for alternatives to think of or organize. We had been so busy with the Eurovision Cafe and in that bubble, you might say, that there was no room for anything else. So we were disappointed, but we were also in acceptance. There was understanding that, well, it can't happen. For any alternative events or things, I think OGAE International thought of some things then, because they did the OGAE poll, which they organize every year. They decided to make some show of it online, which was different from other years. So that was, well, a nice alternative. But for us, we cooperated in that.
Yeah.
We had no initiatives for fans in the Netherlands. Just because we were so, wow.
Yeah, no, I imagine. I think emotionally you must have been almost like grieving.
Yeah.
And you had inputted so much effort in setting everything up, so it was a big disappointment. And I think it's hard because it was a very, very short time to be able to process all that. What fascinated me was also, the different initiatives, as you mentioned, obviously one of them from OGAE International, but also the fans that online started doing initiatives like Eurovision Again, all different sorts of initiatives kind of quite naturally occurring. Did you participate in any of these sort of online events?
Well, yeah, a few. For me personally, there were online Eurovision pub quizzes, which that was nice. So I participated in that. I watched the Eurostream contest. Which I thought was great. It was a splendid and exciting evening. It's almost the real thing, which had to do with the broadcasting that ESVT in Sweden did on the Saturday. So they had all the videos and some people who commentated on them, and after that, I could switch to Eurostream to see the
voting.
Yeah. No. This was the week ahead.
Oh, so, the week. Sorry, yes, the week before.
The week before. So the SVT did all the videos. Afterwards, Eurostream with the voting, which had nothing to do with one another, but it followed one another. So that was that was a nice evening. Then the Thursday, SVT had the final with their voted 25
so
finalists.
You were doing the full package.
I did, yeah. Yes, I did, yeah. Which was also because they also made some show of it.
Yeah.
With of course, they were all videos. Only they had the mamas live, their own contestants live in studio, and there was a very nice presentation duo. So that was a good show on the Thursday, and then on Saturday, Europe Shone a Light. So that was a great show as well. Different, of course, from what
Yeah.
we might have and what most people maybe expected. But I think it was a very good show, produced in a very short time. And I think the hosts they had a good chance to practice for for a large audience, and I think they did well. They did very well.
And the feedback you've had from your own fan membership, do you know what they felt going through this sort of alternative Eurovision week?
Well, I think they were happy that something happened because it was not it was announced not soon after the contest was cancelled, but just so there were a few weeks. What will happen?
What's happening? Yeah.
Yeah. Will there be anything alternative, anything else? So happily there was, and well, maybe it's this, the friends and the people I know and speak, but everyone was positive about it.
Okay. I already have a sense that you are, of course, very positive for next year. But I wanted to ask a little bit more detail in terms of what about if we have to adjust to some sort of new normal?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, I don't know. I think there's a good chance that might happen, and we'll have to do so. I think most important is the contest will take place, and maybe it will be in another form than we hope, and then we expect. But well, I think that's the number one. It would be particularly sad for the Eurofan Cafe, I think, because I don't see a possibility to have that to make that happen when when you want to party with a lot of people and you have to keep a social distance, which well doesn't help to celebrate or to party. So that would be a shame, I think, if we couldn't organize that. But yeah, we might have to cancel once again then for the Eurofan Cafe. But I think the contest will take place, and I hope to be there live in the venue. But if not, I'll live.
Yes, no, you kind of. So currently, you're still not thinking, let's say, in terms of maybe like an online alternative. So I know obviously is too soon. We are a year away.
Yes.
It could be a consideration, some sort of online engagement.
Yeah, well, I think that's what we have learned in the last few months, because we were so, which was logical, focused on the Eurofan Cafe as we had all in our minds and on paper and what we talked about. I think we never thought of such an alternative, but now I think we must keep that in mind. That it might yet again not happen. We cannot organize a fan cafe, but we could think of what's an online alternative. Yes, I think we have to do that.
Okay. Well, I think as you rightly mentioned, what we know for sure is that the Eurovision will be back, and we
Luckily,
will be there.
And we will be there. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Thank you very much for the time you took to speak with us. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I think
I'm wrapping up.
yeah.
I hope you enjoyed this interview with John van Uden. So we will see what happens next year in Rotterdam. Next, we have another interview, but now we are presenting a different perspective, the perspective of someone that is involved in organizing the city event. So next, we have an interview with Reinier Weers, that is organizing and coordinating the Rotterdam City program. He was involved now and he will be involved also obviously next year. Let's hear it. So we have with us today Reinier Weers. Reinier was commissioned by Rotterdam Festivals to coordinate the city program in the run-up to and during Eurovision Song Contest that was supposed to take place in Rotterdam earlier this May. Reinier also works as policy advisor, concept developer, program leader, making art and culture accessible to large and diverse audiences. He also works with the Expertise Center for Social Innovation of the Rotterdam University of Applied Sciences, impacting change in neighborhoods through culture. Thank you for being with us today, Reinier.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So to start our conversation, could you tell us a little bit about your engagement with Rotterdam festivals regarding then the Eurovision Song Contest?
Yeah, I worked for about 10 years for the Rotterdam Festivals organization. And a few years ago, we said goodbye to each other. I wanted to be independent and more on my own and explore other possibilities and fields. And yeah, when Duncan Lawrence won the Eurovision Song Contest and the possibility that Rotterdam would be could be one of the host cities in the Netherlands, I got a little nervous and I thought, well, that's the place I want to be and I need to be. So, well, fortunately, I was asked to coordinate that city program for the Rotterdam Festivals organization and for the city as well, of course. And I'm very happy with it. Your question was, what was my role in the organization?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe I have to tell a little bit about the structure, because
Sure.
you have all those broadcasting corporations, NPO, AVRO, TROS, EBU. That's one project. It's the biggest project, of course. Then you have the venue, Ahoy. It's also a big project here in the city. On the other hand, there was the city team, the core team of the city council, with different kinds of organizations represented in it. Also the Rotterdam partners, so the city marketing organization, and also the festival organization. And from the festival organization, I was responsible for the city program. So that's the structure. And what we do and what we did was asking for interesting proposals of mostly Rotterdam-based organizations to develop and provide an interesting program for Rotterdam people, but of course also for Eurovision fans and all kinds of other tourists from the region and international. So that's shortly what my aim was, and what we did in October 2019, we did an open call for those organizations, and we had more than 200 applications, and that was quite a lot. And at that time, we realized that there is a certain feeling of Eurovision in Rotterdam as well. It's also a little interesting, and we were very curious if the theme of Eurovision would land in Rotterdam. We had a very good feeling in advance about that, but you're never certain about it. So with 200 initiatives and ideas. We were very enthusiastic as well about the vibes in the city of Rotterdam.
And was it difficult to choose?
Yeah, very difficult, but we had a quite large, no, we had a good number of criteria. So we asked for proposals that could contribute to the creative and cultural development of the city as well. Inspired by Eurovision, but not only Eurovision repertoire, because when you say you have to do things only with the repertoire of the Eurovision, it's too simple or too narrow for other people from other cultural backgrounds or ages to join as well. And we want a broader audience, a broad audience for the city program, and that has to do with the city's event strategy. It says, if the Rotterdam people don't like it, who will? Do you know? Because events in first place in Rotterdam take place for the Rotterdam people to enhance the cultural development of the city, and also to make good quality of life during the summertime, during holidays, etc. And besides that, of course, events as a tool for city branding or city marketing as well, but not only in the first place. And you know, the reason we do that is because that became successfully over the last 25 years, that all events are about characteristics of Rotterdam. Rotterdam as an important international port city, Rotterdam as a multicultural city, Rotterdam as a top sports, top arts and cultural city, well, maybe other characteristics as well. And in one way or another, in a quirky way, the Eurovision also fits in that strategy. And yeah, we were kindly surprised that all kinds of people with different backgrounds from all regions within the city came with really nice proposals about making their neighborhood cozy, making more vibrant, about connecting different kinds of ages with the theme of music and culture, with all different kinds of communities, people who are disabled, people in hospitals, all kinds of target groups were automatically in the program. And you know, that works if you ask a broad question instead of please join the Eurovision, because the Eurovision fans, the fans we think we know, they will come to the city and they will develop plans, and it's their party of the century or maybe of their lives. So that will be okay, but it would be more interesting to join other people as well. So, and we quite managed to develop a real nice program with more than 40 organizations organizing, I think, about 80 activities during the week in advance of the final on the 16th of May. But it didn't take place.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. So obviously, when did you realize, because I'm also interested in terms of like how you went through this process, you kind of saw COVID starting, obviously in China, slowly spreading. So when did you realize that obviously potentially it could impact on the taking place, and how was your kind of strategy then to, you know, that led to translation?
This project was launched very fast. So I think the project team became active from already in May 2019, of course, but it grew very fast. And from what I said, from October, I was also in the team, and we went straight ahead. And it was, I think, in January when we first thought, well, there could be in China there's taking place a pandemic, and we don't know how it develops, and we don't know how it works. But in the back of our minds, the people from the core team of the city of Rotterdam developed thoughts of, well, what scenario could happen. And I think it was about somewhere in February, in mid-February, that the scenarios were published to me as well. And yeah, we also had to softly say with our participants that something happened, and that's what they already knew, of course, and our plans could change a little bit. But yeah, the developments went so fast, so yeah, within 3 weeks there was hell, of course.
Of course, that must be very complicated. And here, you know, I really appreciate your opinion. How is it been for these maybe more grassroots organizations and artists to kind of deal with the changing plans, suddenly having to cancel everything? How, your perspective, you know, has that worked for them?
Yeah. The situation has been unavoidable for everyone, and the reactions changed from, oh, this is hell on earth, to, oh, we feel pity for the core organization. Mm-hmm. You know, everyone knew that this was a real threatening for all of us. And here in the Netherlands, and of course in the rest of the world as well, in insane countries, the people's health was number one. Yeah. So when you put people's health on number one, other priorities are not that important anymore. So that was the first thing. We had to say to people, maybe we can go on with the organization, and people understood, but step by step. And also until there was a period that we realized that the organization couldn't go on anymore, but not officially, because things had to do with security, with all kinds of regulations, appointments between the EBU and the City of Rotterdam and the Broadcasting Corporation. Yeah. So that lasted, I think, about more than 2 weeks until we could say, well, it's over with the ambitions.
Actually.
Yeah.
And now to kind of continue on a slightly positive note, what can you tell us from what you've planned, and now that we know that we will have Rotterdam 2021?
Yeah.
So how can we anticipate?
Well, as I said, we had a really nice program, a very diverse program for Rotterdam people staying in the city center, people staying in the region where Ahoy, the venue, is. All different kinds of target groups. I think everyone was very enthusiastic, from people on the street until the eldermen and people in Hilversum as well. Everyone was enthusiastic about this program. And we asked the participants if we have to postpone the organization of the city program to 2021, are you into will you be still into the plan? And everyone said yes. Everyone said we really want to join also next year. And in fact, that made it easier for us, for everyone, to let's say maybe conquer the coronavirus and wait for next year. Yeah, with an enthusiasm, maybe a little bit strengthened out, but it still exists.
Well, probably will be even better because now you had a little bit more time to prepare.
Yeah, and to get some funding as well.
So it's very important. And just going back to the focus you mentioned about the different neighborhoods of Rotterdam, because obviously Ahoy is in a particular area of the city. Can you tell me a little bit if there's going to be, or are you now anticipating a focus on that area specifically? For those that are listening to us that maybe don't have that knowledge of Rotterdam, if you could give us a little bit of insight into Rotterdam itself.
Yeah, of course. Well, as many cities in Europe were bombed during the World War II, Rotterdam was one of those cities. Not only in Germany or in the UK and in the southern European countries, but also Rotterdam. And that was a big loss. In fact, that was the beginning of the World War II in the Netherlands. Rotterdam has always been a Dutch economic center because of the port activities, So the city was at loss. And during the reconstruction years from, the mid-40s until right now, the harbor has always been a very important, has also always played a very important role, of course, in the economic life. And it asked for workers from all kinds of backgrounds. And the city of Rotterdam was rebuilt. Of course, on the northern bank of the river Maas, and the southern bank of the river Maas has always been a little more poor part of the city. Foreign workers lived there, and even until now, the social-economic status of people living there is way lower than average in Rotterdam, and way lower than the average Dutch. So every policymaker, every member of the board of the city wants to develop that part of Rotterdam as well. And it's a quite tough job to do that. So there is this task force working on the southern part of Rotterdam. And Ahoy, as you mentioned, as a venue, event venue, is one of the biggest, most successful venues in the Netherlands. It was quite a UFO landed in a quite poor part of the city. And what the managers of that venue do over the last, I think, 20, 30 years is trying to make connections also with the people living in their surroundings, and also policymakers on the subjects of culture, sport, etc. work on participating on those themes. And it was our aim also to connect all kinds, what I said earlier, to connect all kinds of people from Rotterdam to the Eurovision Song Contest. And we put emphasis on the southern part of Rotterdam, not by saying we only ask those people to join, but trying to make more connections with the people working there, people living there, cultural matchmakers, all kinds of ways to get in contact with people that can have initiative. So we did our best to do it, and it worked out because relatively the most initiative came from the southern part of Rotterdam. Mm-hmm. So we were very enthusiastic about that as well, because it worked out.
So I think, you obviously got a big response, as you said, from the southern neighborhood where Ahoy is placed. And I really think it's important for an event organizer to kind of keep that finger on the pulse of the city and where the interventions are most needed. So if those visiting Rotterdam for the first time are going to be exposed to all this diversity of events in all different neighborhoods, can you tell me what is the anticipated impression that you're going to make in those visitors, or what sort of image would you like them to have from Rotterdam?
Well, in fact, Rotterdam is a real city in the meaning that the people are real. We don't have a historical center anymore. So in that sense, people will experience Rotterdam, a modern European city with a quite cultural, diverse inhabitant represented here. And that's the city life as it is. And I think that's the image that people will get when they visit Rotterdam, the multicultural, modern city life of the city as it is. And of course, we will really want to show the real nice showcases of that city and cultural shows and spectacles people have been developing here. Yeah, that's the first thing. And Rotterdam is also a very creative city. And that's what you will see with the artistic city dressing that has been developed. All kinds of music spectacles in the city center and also en route to the venue. And of course, we heard that in the past, the Eurovision Village, sometimes it was a blast and sometimes it was a little bit empty. I heard, I'm very sorry because you're Portuguese, that in Lisbon not everyone was enthusiastic all the time with the Eurovision Village. And we said Eurovision Village must be the hotspot for visitors during that week. 10 days of fun during the day and also during the night, and not only on the semi-final and the final evening. So we made very, very good preparations with professional organizations to develop a nice program for Rotterdam, for Dutch people, but also, of course, for the international visitors. And so we put a lot of emphasis on wayfinding in the city, because when you don't have a main square in your city, because of the bombing, it will be difficult to find your ways in the city center, which was very, just like maybe Berlin and London, fragmented. Mm-hmm. So also for the people, the city marketeers, it's quite interesting to make good maps of the city and wayfindings, and we try to the customer journey of the visitors should be an A+. So that's our aim, and I'm totally convinced that you will have that experience next year when the weather is good.
Well, I look forward to it. And I'm sure, all those that are listening to us, can't wait to test Rotterdam.
I hope so.
And have fun. So before we close this interview, there is obviously a question I have to ask. Are you an Eurovision Song Contest fan?
Well, I'm not a hardcore fan. I'm one of those guys that watched the Eurovision in the late 70s and the early 80s with my grandmother and my grandfather on Saturday evening with crisps on the table and one time a week a glass of cola. So that was my experience, and it was really cozy. And then I could stay up until the end of the points counting. And but yeah, so Johnny Logan is Mr. Eurovision, and also for me, especially with the song "What's Another Year," of course. And during the last 8 years or so, the Netherlands are taking the Eurovision more seriously. more like for example, the Swedish do, and the Irish people do. Because yes, the Eurovision is also a launch for Dutch artists for their international success. And one of the examples is Ilse Lange with the Common Limits a few years ago, who is a rising star in Germany, for example. So Dutch artists also realize that they really have to come with artistic and qualitative songs and repertoire. And that's what showed, and it was subtimized by Duncan Lawrence, I think, last year. So I'm very proud of it, and I'm more enthusiastic because it takes place in Rotterdam. You can imagine that.
You're working from the inside, so it's going to be, really an amazing experience.
I won't be in the venue. I won't be at the final. I won't be at the semi-final. I will have to sense the vibrancy in the city and how people like it. And that's even more fun, I think.
I agree with you. Well, thank you very much, Reinier. It was a pleasure talking with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
$30 minutes.
No, it's okay. You can start.
So, hi guys, I hope you all are following us yet, because it's going to be a very interesting strand today, and stay tuned. And our next guest is Alan Tubery. Now, who's Alan Tubery? Alan is an Australian citizen who's been DJing the Eurovision side events for the last 7 years. So without further delay, let's hear what Alan has to say about his experience in the Eurovision Song Contest. Here we are again. Today we have a very special guest, as all our guests have been throughout the years, So our guest today is Alan Tubery. Alan has been a DJ in the Eurovision side events for the last 7 years, and is an Australian citizen with a Swiss-German ascendancy, whose passion for the Eurovision comes from childhood, when he watched the broadcast event with his mother. Am I correct, Alan?
You are totally correct. It was 1961.
My God, right. Thank you. So
I'm showing my age here.
Don't worry about that. So first question we have for you is, are you a DJ by profession, or did your passion for the Eurovision Song Contest drove you in this direction?
No, I'm actually a professional DJ, and Eurovision is only a small part of my DJ.
Okay.
I am also producing music and everything. So.
Okay, great. Okay. So, Sophia.
So you were in the last 7 Eurovision Song Contest in the 7 different cities.
Yep.
Where did you perform in each year? In the Eurocafe, Eurovillage? Can you talk a little bit about this?
I've performed mainly at every Eurovillage.
Mm-hmm.
I've performed at the Euroclub, and I've performed at the Eurocafe, and as well I've performed at delegation promotion party they do have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In which delegation? All delegations, or just
No,
some?
not all delegation. I've performed for the Italian one, for the Swiss one, for the Australian one, of course. But I take enough music with me, so if I'm asked to perform at the promotion party, I will have the music.
So you talk that you bring to you enough music to perform in different contexts, and since people want to hear music and to have a party. So in these last years, what is the difference between being a DJ in these events. So we know that technology is changing, and maybe it's easier to bring your music with you today. So can you talk a little bit about this technological thing that many people shouldn't know?
Yes, surely. Like the first time I performed was in Malmö, my first Eurovision. And at that time, we didn't really use USB sticks.
Of course.
So it was a lot more I had to copy the music on CDs and then carry with me a lot of CDs. Now, of course, it's very different. And I just have a small USB sticks and a USB bank.
Yeah.
So I've got all my music there, and it's very easy. I don't have to carry all of this anymore.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I used to be also a DJ in the 70s, and we used to have a big 33 12-inch vinyl, and that was very, very hard to carry every night to the music. So it has become very easier for us DJ to be prepared and to bring the music.
Yeah, I can imagine that if you were already a DJ for the Eurovision Song Contest in the 70s, it would have been extremely difficult to carry all the vinyl, throughout the cities where you would be working. But fortunately now everything is much easier. Yes. So now, the other day when we were speaking informally, you told us about the podcasts that you make each year. So we are curious to know if these podcasts that you make are only available during the event, or if they are available the weeks after or during the whole year, or, are they adapted to the cities where the Eurovision takes place? Can you tell us a little bit about these podcasts, please?
Okay. Regarding the podcast, every year, most of the delegation will produce some remixes. Mm-hmm. And when you play at the Euroclub or even at the Eurovillage, you play this version. It's a very interesting concept because some of the songs, like Dami Im, The Sound of Silence, was a ballad. Mm-hmm. But then fortunately, the song was remixed to become a dance version.
I see.
So they had the 3 minute 20 version, and they also had the extended version, which is about 6 minutes 50.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was about 5 or 6 different remixers doing this song. Mm-hmm. So when you're at the Euroclub or at the village, I can decide, depending how the crowd do respond, I play certain remix or I play the normal song.
Yeah, yeah. So you have to be very attentive to the reaction of the audience who are in the village.
Exactly, right? Exactly.
Okay.
And it is actually a little bit of a problem with the fan, what I would call fanatics, because we are like about 8 or 9, actually probably 12 DJs working at the Euroclub. Mm-hmm. And the majority of people are quite open-minded, and I'm quite happy to hear the normal remix or the extended remix. But the fanatics, as I would call them, only wants to hear the 3 minute version, and probably only about 50 songs. Okay. So there's always space now for different DJ to play different style of music. And at least now they mention who is DJing on that night. Mm-hmm. For example, in Stockholm, it was very good because we had the Euroclub on one side and the Eurocafe on the other side. So people had the choice to move between the two venues. The one who wanted to dance could be listening to the remix, and the purist, I would call, would be at the Eurocafe listening to the 3 minute version. Mm-hmm. But for me, I've always considered taking the crowd on a musical journey. I'm not a jukebox. I don't want to play just the 3 minutes version. I want to create a whole atmosphere on the evening. Exactly. I'm going to surprise with a cappella version. I'm going to surprise with version in different languages. and this is a pleasure of bringing something different.
You also
Yeah, it's part of the, you know, sorry, just let me just add this, Sophia. It's really a part of the essence of being a DJ, right? I mean, when you have the opportunity to put your own personal input into choosing which version or which song to play at that particular time, I think.
Exactly, and I think one of the other issues is, of course, some of the other DJ are only Eurovision DJ. So they only do DJing during the Eurovision time, where I do DJ during the whole year, and I don't only do Eurovision music. So therefore, I've got probably a different approach, which a lot of people will enjoy, but some people might not.
Okay. Okay.
So you told us in our previous talk that you adapt your choices as well as considering the city and the country, of course, that you are playing, because this is, as we know, the Eurovision has this emotional link with people. So we like to hear Portuguese songs, and of course we are Portuguese, or other people maybe feel the same. So how do you prepare these choices?
Okay. There is a lot of preparation which people don't realize. When a country gonna basically be the host of Eurovision, I'm going through the whole history of Eurovision from 1956. So, for example, Holland was or the Netherlands was one of the first country to participate in Eurovision. So I'm doing some research, and I'm finding all the songs from 1956 from the Dutch version. And I'm gonna find the song when Dutch used to release songs with a French, English, German version. And I'm gonna collect all of this on my USB stick. So there is also cover version of songs by different artists. Plus you have songs which have won, like Nicole Ambition Freedom. And Nicole basically did a Dutch version. There's quite a lot of winning songs or Eurovision songs which have been, at the time in the 60s, 70s and 80s, it was very popular to release the song in different languages. It disappeared in the 2000s, but the last few years, we've been blessed to again have artists singing in 2, 3, 4, 5 different languages.
Yeah. So, and about the cities, we are curious to know how you perceived the different cities where you were engaged in the Eurovision Song Contest, because up till now you were in 7 different cities, as far as we know. So how did the city's life change because of hosting the Eurovision Song Contest? Did you have any perception of these big transformations?
Every city is completely different. I mean, Stockholm probably was very, very well organized, but Sweden is very knowledgeable about Eurovision organization, the history of Sweden with ABBA winning, and they've won many, many times. So we did expect to have a very well organized Eurovision in Stockholm. So of course, when I was planned to play at the Square in Stockholm, I did remix some ABBA songs and some Swedish Schlager, what they call, to bring the atmosphere. Because at the village, actually, you can play not just Eurovision music, you can play local music. So it's a completely different approach again than at the club. You really are stuck to play Eurovision music.
I see, okay.
So, Israel, of course, was a completely different type of music, because you could bring a lot of Arabic music as well, and the climate was different. So at the village, it was very, very different to play. So you can play a little bit more happy music and moving music. In Stockholm, the climate was cold. In Kiev, we had some snow. So you just adjust how the crowd respond, and but it's a pleasure, you know.
So you told us in our previous talk that you were supposed to spend 4 months in Europe this year in different cities, but due to the pandemic situation and this whole cancellation of events, your work is affected. So what do you think that this pandemic situation could affect this entertainment business? Because yeah, we are dealing with small spaces and space between people and this kind of stuff. What is your perception?
Okay, it's a very sad situation, especially for the artists, but not only the artists. It's basically the restaurant, the tourism industry. There's a lot of frustration because a lot of people had planned to tour in Europe, artists from all around the world, like Celine Dion had a big tour of Europe, Lady Gaga, and all these tours had to be stopped. Now, it's a massive problem because the whole industry, people setting up the concert, people selling tickets, they all have lost their job.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, another thing which is for the Australian, Eurovision, we're a big crowd. We're supporting Eurovision for a lot of time. So a lot of Australians have made the effort to pay for the airfare and to pay for the tickets. And suddenly, like about 2 weeks before, we told it's a no-go. So I would say for not only the artist, but also the fan, there's a lot of money issue which will raised after this situation, because expenses have been, people have spent a lot of money, but the refunds are not coming.
Yeah.
For the artists, the same thing. It's very, very frustrating because they put so much energy. When you work at Eurovision, it's like a boot camp. For about 2 weeks, artists, DJ, media people, we are like sleeping 4 hours a night and we are full on, especially the artists. I mean, they have to perform their song for about 50, 60 times in 2 weeks. And for them, they put all this rush of energy and adrenaline to go there, and then suddenly it's gone. And I really feel for the artists. Fortunately, I think up today there's 17 of them which have been reselected to participate. They will need some new songs.
18,
but,
I think.
Yes, 18. Yeah, well, that's good. And I wish all the artists could be reselected again. But of course, countries like the northern part of Europe, they do a selection process like big show, like Melodian Festival or the Norwegian Festival. The same with Italy with Sanremo. And they need, these shows are going over weeks, and it's bringing a lot of money as well because they're touring through the country. So this country needs to keep on going. Sanremo keeps on doing their 6 nights. So therefore the artists of Italy and a lot of artists in the northern part of Europe will miss out. And it's really this, it's very sad for them because they put so much energy in it. They've got pumped up to perform and then suddenly it's gone. So for the fan, Eurovision is a little bit like the annual Christmas. It's always good because they're catching up with friends. But what I also want to stress is that Eurovision is very different. It's not like a big soccer game. It's a safe environment. I have never seen any violence at Eurovision, and you have massive crowds, but it's a friendly crowd. But okay, Rotterdam 2021 has been announced. Great. Will it be the same? They might have to adjust, but I'm sure we will have another Eurovision in 2021. it might be slightly different, but we'll be there.
Mm-hmm. Let's hope so. So it's very interesting what you mentioned about being a crowd and a safe crowd, which is something that, well, it doesn't occur to us that often, you know, but it occurs to you because you've been in so many Eurovision Song Contests in a row, like the last 7 years. So the next question we would like to...
Can I just quickly add something to that?
Mm-hmm.
I've been DJing at the FIFA, at the Euro Soccer.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fantastic. When
they had the Euro in Switzerland and in Austria. And when you DJ for the soccer fan, it's a completely different...
Yeah, so you have this pattern of comparison. Okay, I see.
Exactly. And I was DJing for a game between Croatia and Turkey, I think. And there was so much violence after the game. And I was at the fan zone playing the music, and they had to stop it. And so many people ended up in hospital. But Eurovision, you never see that. It's a happy crowd.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, so the question that we had to ask you was about, well, in a way it relates to what you've just said, because you mentioned to us the other day the importance of meeting friends, right? So yes. What sort of friends do you meet in these events? Are they longtime friends, or they became your friends through the Eurovision Song Contest, or is it a mixture of both? Can you tell us a little bit about the human tie regarding the Eurovision Song Contest? Because it's also something that people are not very much aware of.
Okay, of course, Eurovision, having been since 1961, 1956, is a very important song contest. But it only started, I would say, about 12 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, to become so big. And it's not only the show, and this is what the fans sometimes forget. Eurovision is actually a TV show, and it's done for TV. So all what happened around it is a little bonus. It's a bonus for the city because it brings some tourism and some business. It's for the hotel are gonna be full and everything. But it's also for the fan. They arrive there and they meet some their friends they've met for years after years and after years. And what's really interesting is once some of them have been there for the first time, it's become a tradition. And years after years, you're gonna meet again the same people and the same friends. So it has created really a very strong bond between people going every year. The other thing, of course, is today with the social media and the internet, people are a lot more connected. So quite often people are connecting through a fan website, and then finally they meet, you know, and they have something in common, which is, it's bringing a lot of joy to a lot of people. And this is why it's a very positive and happy place to be.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because you have to be inside in order to have this perception of the human ties that are involved in this event.
Yes, it's interesting because for somebody who's not so much into Eurovision, it sounds like a crazy word, or it's a sect, you know, almost like a sect. But it's not. It's just a happy fun, and it should be like this.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you can tell us a little bit about the Australia fan community that we sure you know, because yeah, here in Europe we can have an idea about it, but we know very bad this Australian context. Can you highlight?
Yes. Okay, this is one question that non-stop people are asking: why is Australian at Eurovision? Okay, well, it's very simple. It's starting back. We started to broadcast Eurovision in 1983 in Australia. And since then, of course, it's gone up a notch because with the internet, there's more connection as well. So suddenly you've got all these fan following, the selection of the songs and everything. So Australians have been always very, very fond of Eurovision. What you have to understand is most of Australians are from English or European descent. And that the majority of Australian population is about 70% migrants. Mm-hmm. So Eurovision in the 80s was one of the pleasure we had to follow. It was screened on television. You would get the song list, because we didn't have internet. So we would get the song list faxed to us, and then we would do a party, and people would come, and we would put $10 and watch the show together, and the one who picked up the winner would take all the money. We would cook food from different countries. It was a very, very different... it gave a sense of community to a lot of Australians. Okay, I still have my connection to Europe. And this is what Eurovision has been very important for Australians. I mean, for example, when Dami performed, when the show was screened in Australia, there was an audience of 3 million people.
My God.
Considering we have 18 million people, it's quite large.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not the figures like in Sweden and everything, but it's building up slowly and slowly. And I think Dami finishing second, and every year we went to the final, and we're producing actually some very interesting acts. And we take it very seriously. So this is why the Australians are very much. Another factor which I want to talk about Australia is, for example, ABBA's career really internationally started in Australia.
Exactly.
They had the song Fernando, ended up being 14 weeks at #1. We used to have one of the major TV shows every Saturday. It was like Countdown. It was called Countdown. It's like Top of the Pop in the BBC. And ABBA basically owe a lot to Australia for their international career, because we were really the one pushing them at the beginning. Why? Because it's kitsch, because Australians have a sense of humor. You know, if you look at the movie we've produced, very successful movie from Australia, have been, for example, Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Muriel's Wedding, Crocodile Dundee, Strictly Ballroom. They're all movies which are, we're not taking ourselves too serious, and we're making fun out of ourselves. So, of course, Eurovision, the music connected to the sense of humor of Australians. And this is why it's become so big in Australia.
Yeah, yeah. I learned that fact of ABBA becoming a really well-known group in that documentary that I was telling you about, specifically with Fernando, that song which speaks about the war. Can you imagine? Because I had never in my life, well, I never paid attention to its lyrics. That's what it means anyway. But very interesting, very interesting. Okay, so Sophia, do you want to add anything else?
Trying to do a kind of wrap up, and since you know Eurovision as a TV show and as well as a event that move thousands of people every year, how you see this new normal that maybe we have to face in the future, and how do you perceive the future of the Eurovision and this whole dynamics, considering this new normal inherent of the pandemic situation? It's a kind of wrap up of our conversation.
Okay, so well, let's put it first. Start with 2020. We can. This 2020 will definitely go down in history book, as this is the first time ever Eurovision was cancelled. Now, I want to bring something quickly. This is not the first time. Eurovision almost didn't happen.
Yeah,
there were strikes. There were strikes. There were natural diseases. There were disasters. You know, like in Oslo in 2010, we had Chernobyl. Sorry, it was 1980.
80s, yeah.
That was in Bergen. So about a few weeks before, they were, shall we still do Eurovision? 2010, that was in Oslo, and there was Chernobyl. You had the war in Zagreb. You had in Azerbaijan, you had the issue with the building, which was not finished on time. And you had strikes. You had countries who could not afford to produce the show a second year in a row. So it's not the first time Eurovision has had some trouble to happen. However, this is the first time it stopped. So it will definitely become a landmark in the history of Eurovision. Now, Eurovision 2021 will be a brand new show, and they're gonna have to rebrand it, a new logo, and new, as much as, you know, some of the fans saying, oh, we repeat it. No, they're gonna have to do a brand new rebranding. Start from the scratch. It happened to be still in Rotterdam. Will it be the same thing? The external activities will probably be not be able to be the same. I cannot see that the Euro Village will be packed with 500,000 people like in Tel Aviv. The Euro Club probably will not be able to have 1,000 people dancing. We don't know yet. It's all about the unknown. We're going to have to adjust. I mean, the song contest has existed for so long, and I've gone through a lot of changes through the years, and I'm sure that they will find a way. And as I said before, let's not forget, it is a TV show. And in reality, all the fans going are props for a TV show, if you think about it. So the city, of course, will miss out a little bit, because if there's no Euro Village, or they won't have so many tourists. It's really sad for Rotterdam, because it's going to affect them budget-wise. They spend so much money on thinking it's going to be like all previous Eurovision, but that's a fact of life. So let's be positive. Let's think. There will definitely, music is fantastic to connect people, and Eurovision is unique. So it's going to be there in a way or another, and it's going to keep on going. It's the longest show apart from San Remo. So let's all be happy about it and proud to be part of it.
And let's hope to meet all of us in person in 2021 in Rotterdam.
That's it.
Alan, thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan.
Very nice talking to you, ladies.
Yeah, after 3 very interesting and exciting interview sessions, we all deserve a little break. So, since we are tonight celebrating the first semi-final of our Eurovision's International Conference, we thought it would be a good idea to have a recap with all the songs that would have been in the first semi-final of this year's Eurovision Song Contest. And for this wonderful recap, we have found a very talented young man. His name is Korjun, and he's from South Korea, a devoted pianist and Eurovision fan. And he will present a little bit of his extraordinary talent. So, by the way, he's also writing own songs. So, Eurovision delegations, keep your ears open. But for now, enjoy Korjun and his Eurovision medley of the 2020 first semi-final. Enjoy.
So thank you very much, Korjun, for this wonderful ESC recap of the first semi-final of this year's Eurovision Song Contest.
And now, back to our roundtable. So, today we have two very special guests with us. One is Nuno Valerio, and the other is Wilfred van Dellen. Now, I will start by presenting Wilfred, although I spoke about him in the second place. Wilfred is a teacher and an academic advisor at University College of Maastricht, one of the liberal arts and science programs in the Netherlands. And as a fan of Eurovision, he visited the event several times in the last decade. As an academic, he has an interdisciplinary interest in the contest, including sociological and psychological phenomena related to it. So welcome, Wilfred. And now let's go to Nuno. So Nuno Valerio, I know him a little bit better. We've known each other for years. So Nuno is the webmaster and chief editor of EurovisionOnTop.com, as well as a member of the Portuguese OGAE. He's also a lyricist, and in that quality, he has participated in the Portuguese national selection of 2010 and 2011. Apart from this, he's been attending the Eurovision Song Contest since 2003, and now I'm going to add a little bit of information of my own. He sings very well. So welcome both of you. Thank you for being present in our roundtable. And I'm kicking off the roundtable by asking both of you, but we can start by deciding who is going to answer first, in order not to have both of you answering at the same time. So, Wilfred first, please. So, you are engaged, both of you are engaged fans that have visited many of the different Eurovision Song Contest host cities over the years, right? And we would like to know what is the difference between experiencing the Eurovision Song Contest as a city event from just a televised show.
Oh my God, what a question. Where do I start? What's the difference? Actually, I skipped a few years as well. So I wasn't there when it was in the Ukraine. I wasn't there last year in Tel Aviv. And I can tell you, it's very hard to sort of see your country win after 44 years and actually not be there. That was hard.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, we have the same trouble exactly.
We have the same, right? Yeah, so actually for me, the first time was in Düsseldorf, which is close to Maastricht. So when it was this close to my hometown, I thought this should be the first time I'm actually going to see Eurovision. And one of my friends said it's going to be quite overwhelming the first time you are there, because you're part of a crowd, and a crowd that is cheering. The city will sort of breathe Eurovision in every corner. So that was indeed quite the experience, and different from watching it on television in so many ways, because so many more things are happening in the city throughout the entire week. Whereas while you're sitting at home, you just turn on the television, you watch either the semifinals and then the final. While being in the city, it's sort of a one-week big event. And I live in Maastricht, so in the part of the Netherlands where Carnival is big. And if I ever have to explain to people what Eurovision is like when you go there for a full week, I sometimes compare it to Carnival, and this not in the bad sense, but more like spending an entire week on meeting up with people that have a similar interest and really enjoy it. So I think that's a big difference, yeah.
What about you, Nuno? Do you want to comment on this duality of experiencing Eurovision through TV and being there, as you have been so many times?
So many. Well, I skip. I also, like Wilfred, I skip several events. By coincidence, the same. But I think being in the arena and watching Eurovision live, it's a scene that all the Eurovision fans should try. And my first time in 2003 was amazing because it was the first time for me. It was a television show, and suddenly I was inside that show, that event. So it was amazing. But then I went a lot of times in a row, and when I remember in 2007 in Finland, I thought, okay, so what's new this year? And for me, okay, I want to be out and watch it from home because this is a television show, and I wanted to experience to stay home again. So it's different, but it's something you have to live as a Eurovision.
Do you think you skip some details when you are actually in the arena? Some details that probably are clearer when you are watching it through the TV broadcast?
Well, it depends. It depends of your own experience. I can tell you my experience that probably is different than the other fans. But being in the arena, for me is it's because you are surrounded by the vibe of the other fans, and also the music. It's very loud, of course, but sometimes you're my personal experience. Sometimes I'm watching the big screen where as if I was at home,
Yeah.
but in a big arena. So it's a mixed feeling.
Okay. Thank you.
So Nuno, you expect as me as well, and as Carla and Isabel as Portuguese, for so long to Portugal win and to receive the Eurovision in Lisbon. How do you perceive the city of Lisbon receiving the Eurovision Song Contest for the first time? You have this, you can compare because you were in other different cities.
Well, by my experience, I think the cities may be involved in Eurovision in a different way, and it depends on the size of the city itself. And I think it also depends, but this is not research; it's my personal opinion. And I think it's also the relation that the country has, and also the city, with Eurovision. For instance, I think in Portugal, no one believed in Eurovision, but we wait for so many times, so long, that finally we really embrace the environment of Eurovision in the city. Because we felt this is our opportunity, I think. So I felt like this. But for example, in Istanbul, in Turkey, 16 years ago, it was a bit different because the city, it was too big, so big, that when I asked people in the street, do you know about Eurovision, or a taxi driver, I want to go to the arena of Eurovision. What? And some people don't know, don't even know, because the city was too big. But this is my experience. Okay?
How about you, Wilfred? In that sense, how was it for you? You know, again, this sort of duality of watching the Eurovision in the arena, just watching it on TV. And obviously you already reflected that, you know, when your country won, you weren't there to watch it. Do you also feel, you know, kind of these different experiences in that sense?
In what way?
So not just being in the city, but watching it inside the arena. That Nuno was reflecting, watching it inside the arena and feeling it as a city event, or just watching it at home.
Well, I think over the years, what I've experienced is similar to Nuno. He said it changed sort of over the years in terms of initially you come in and you want to be as close to the stage as possible and see the arches and even touch them, like sort of a holy object that is on the holy stage of Eurovision, and that you could never reach while you were sitting at home. But I've also, over the years, experienced a change in my experience, like you said, you know, in terms of saying, okay, what's it going to be like this year? When I was in Lisbon, actually, we were not supposed to, we didn't get tickets close to the front stage during the final, but we were actually very close to the green room. And I thought, okay, this is a new experience. Actually, I'm close to the artist once they're done, and see what happens there and what other people won't see on TV. Because I have to admit, sometimes the sound in the big hall is not as good as it is on TV, of course. So actually, watching it on TV is a better experience in that sense. But on the other hand, one of the things I started to appreciate is that Eurovision partly determined where my holiday would go the next year. So I was never before in Lisbon, never before in Portugal, and then suddenly, you won first time, wanting that for years, and then basically I said, okay, it's going to be Lisbon next year, Portugal, and see what the city has to offer. So it's sort of a plus to experience places you've never been to. And even though I didn't go to Ukraine for various reasons, I would have loved to see Kiev, because I'm not sure whether I would have gone there by myself on a regular holiday. Same goes for Tel Aviv. Maybe I'll go there another time. But all these cities that you visit and experience, that is the result of, one country winning and inviting people from all over Europe coming over to your country and your city, right?
Nuno, Wilfried, you have both been to many Eurovision editions. So when I recall my first Eurovision experiences, there was in fact not much city around the venue, to be honest. So because we were just there taking part in the repetitions and seeing how the artists would behave in the common places, in the restaurants and so on. How did Eurovision change in the past few years with so many new locations opening up in the city, with the Eurofan Cafe, with the Eurovision Village? Is this also part of your personal Eurovision experience?
As you said, it was different during the years. I don't know for sure, but I think the first Eurocafe was in Greece, for example. I think it was in Greece, I remember, in 2005, right? And it was something different for us, but it was a cafe. And now the Eurocafe is more than a cafe or a place to meet. It's where party happens as well. So I think scenes change, but I think these places make the fans connected and live and help them live their Eurovision experience in a different way. But I don't know if the city experience it's different. The Eurovision experience, you live in a city, and the city experience you can live beside Eurovision. I think it's two different things. For example, my first Eurovision was in Riga, and I was so into Eurovision, attending all the rehearsals, all the events, trying to make an interview with subtitle and so on. That finally, when in the end of the week, and it was only 1 week because there was no semifinals. Okay, what I reflect, what was my experience of Riga? Okay, I need to come back. And I came back a few years later because I think you have a different experience of the city if it's Eurovision or if it's not Eurovision. It depends. But it's my experience. Maybe other fans, and all the fans are different, have a different experience. I don't know if I answered your question.
What about you, Wilfried? I mean, I heard you say just a couple of minutes ago that the Eurovision Song Contest began to, at a certain point, you began defining your vacation according to the location of the Eurovision Song Contest, or something like that. So, was it like, something like the experience of Nuno, which, according to my perception, was that he had to return to those cities to enjoy the city properly, or you just went along with both experiences at the same time? Meaning you went to the Eurovision Song Contest, and at the same time you did sort of a 1 week, 2 week vacation. Did I make
Yeah, I
myself
think,
understood?
yeah,
I hope.
yeah, and I think, I would love to hear that from people actually who went to Eurovision when there was only just, let's say, the final, when they went for 2 weeks or 1 week, because now, when I went, we started having the semi-finals, and now there are two semi-finals. So two semi-finals and then one big final and the jury finals. They basically define your entire week. I can imagine if there's only one final and you're still there for 1 week, you're gonna look for other stuff in the city that's going on, outside of the city, and turn that more in a small vacation or holiday. But so much is going on that the bubble is getting bigger and bigger and more dense, filled with all kinds of stuff. And what I hear Nuno say also a bit is, correct me if I'm wrong, is you were in the bubble, there was a lot to do, but the city was also different when you returned. You wanted to go back to see what it's really like, but the bubble is gone. So suddenly you have the regular city again, right? To experience.
Yeah, sometimes this can be very boring.
I
I
can
just
imagine.
have to have this experience of mine when I was in 1993 in Mill Street. So Mill Street is definitely not a place to go back to, but it was a very nice and cozy experience because, in fact, Mill Street is basically one street with some shops and houses, and every shop and every house had its own national decoration. So one shop was welcoming the French, and the next one the Dutch, and the Germans were welcomed, of course, by the filling station. So this was a very nice experience, but you would not ever find the same atmosphere again if you turned back now, I think.
Yeah. It is interesting. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to say one thing. I don't know if you're going to ask or talk about it, but even when you return to a city and you are out of the bubble, sometimes you feel connected, and because I think this is the good of being an Eurofan, it's to meet people. And when you go back to a city, you find those people again. For example, as Wilfred was saying, I want to go to Portugal, to Lisbon, because I never was there. I've never been there, so let me go again. Let me try. But for example, I went to Albania because I think when will Albania win Eurovision? So we don't know. Let me go to Albania. But the first thing I did before going there was trying to keep in touch with some Eurofans from Albania. And when I went there, when I get there, I had someone to make the connection, and so we are not so into the bubble, but we have a bit of colleague.
I was interviewing a lady that was in the Eurovision in the 60s with the Portuguese delegation. And she was very interested in this new dynamic of all city part of the Eurovision and this Euro Village and this stuff, because she told me that in the 60s it's not like that. For her, it's a kind of a vacation because she can enjoy the city as a normal tourist. So, and she was very pleased to see the changes in Lisbon 2 years ago, the all different experience that she had in the 60s. So I believe that is very, very different. So we all had the expectations for this 2020 edition. For me, it's an expectation to travel to the Netherlands for the first time and to be in the Rotterdam for the first time, of course. So, which are your expectations? I know that Nuno would not plan to travel to Rotterdam, just see the show on the TV, and Wilfred it's planning to experience the Eurovision in his country for many years. So, what is your expectation?
Well, it's interesting actually, because initially, when it was still a battle between Rotterdam and Maastricht, I thought, oh my God, it could be the first time ever that it's happening in my own hometown. So I would have a completely different experience of knowing my hometown, the bubble coming here, and then maybe changing the city, right? Baku still has a big arena left over from the Eurovision Song Contest when it happened there. So I was really wondering how would it change the city and what would happen and how would I experience this. Now I will have a different experience because it's going to be in Rotterdam, a city I've been in before. So it's interesting to actually see the city change then or not because of the event going there. I've also realized I had discussions with the group of friends that I tend to travel with on what we're actually going to do. I said, I'm really not going to go and be a tourist in my own country and visit places that other people are going to visit. Sophia, for example, because she's going to see stuff for the first time. And it has led to interesting differences. Some of my friends said, I'm going to be a delegation host for Portugal. Others have said, oh, we might actually help out as a volunteer one way or the other, help organize parties and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a different perspective. I'm not sure yet what I would do, although I have to admit one of the first things I said is, if it's going to happen in the Netherlands, in Maastricht particularly, but in Rotterdam as well, I'd love to help out with Eurovisions and have a conference like you're planning to do, right? And indeed become much more of a volunteer instead of a tourist in your own country. Yeah.
I'm not sure who's going to ask anything now.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to follow up, just in terms of the actual expectation, even for Rotterdam 2020, you know, and we're going to talk about the cancellation, of course. But it was interesting in the interview to listen to the plans, and there was so much focus on the neighborhoods, on involving the local publics. So being obviously both an event for local people, but also for visitors. And, you know, personally, I think that is rather important. But maybe I wanted to ask also to reflect on your experiences. You know, you've mentioned those connections you made with local people in different cities you visited. Of course, you know, for Wilfred, Rotterdam is in his country. For Nuno, you know, it's coming from abroad. So if you could reflect on that sort of orientation for the approach to the city event, catering to the different audiences. Nuno first?
Go ahead.
No, you can answer.
Yeah, I'm not sure how. One of the interviews actually was indeed about how they would love to do things differently. They compared it actually to other cities and how they did it. That made me smile a bit. I think there's always good intentions, but then you realize what it actually means to organize the event. So we'll see about that. But it's always good to have different ideas about how to approach it, how to approach Eurovision Village slightly different, or to attract a bigger audience, or how to involve the entire city, right? I think Maastricht originally had the plan to involve every part of the city and turn that into a small Portugal and a small Israel, a small Russia, and attract an audience and tourists that way. And Rotterdam also has many plans. I also know they wanted to actually lower the threshold for people with less income, so let's say socioeconomic background and money to spend on activities like this, to be able to go there. So they arranged that a lot of tickets would be available, and I think half of them were actually sold. And in that sense, actually attract an audience that usually wouldn't go to Eurovision maybe, or couldn't spend money on it, which I think is in a way a good thing, to involve a bigger audience in that sense. Yeah. But I'm curious to see what they're going to deliver. There's tons of ideas, and then you realize it's also about permits that you need in terms of sound and what you're allowed to do and at what time during the night. I think it's more difficult than it seems to organize this.
Yeah. How about you, Nuno?
I personally think that the goal is to turn Eurovision in the city open to all the cities, to all the local citizens, and to everyone. And I don't know, because I don't know if there's a research part or something, but sometimes I don't think it's very easy because, for instance, I remember Lisbon, there were so many people coming, especially from Spain, of course. And I'm not sure if Eurovision was for the Eurofans or for the local. The locals, of course, they knew the songs was happening there. The Eurovillage was happening there. There was a Euro Cafe, but regular people cannot get in. So the only thing that they can go, the only place they can go was the Eurovillage. And I'm not sure that everybody felt connected. For them, I think, for the locals, I think Eurovision was, again, a TV show. For the fans, maybe it was different because they travel, because they met people, they have contacts from previous years, and it's easy to have a conversation with someone. Eurovision is an easy way to travel uh, alone, but never alone, because you are always together with someone. Even you don't know anyone, you easily make a connection because the subjects are the same. I don't know if Eurovision is for the...
Yeah, well, in that sense, if you could give the Rotterdam organizers some advice of what, from your experience, actually worked, what would you say?
Are you asking to me?
Both.
Right. I don't know, because I never organize events like that.
No, but just as you experiencing it, you know, what was organized that you actually thought, oh, this is really nice, I'm really enjoying it?
Well, I never thought about it, but I think that there should be more things or places for people to get in and can stay and experience Eurovision. The more people are involved, even in organization, the more people will feel that belong to them. And it happens everywhere. I'm a teacher of mathematics, so the more I involve my students, the better results I have. So I think it's the same in every event. The more you connect people, the more connected they will be. But I don't have a specific advice.
How about you, Wilfred?
Well, one of the things that surprised me actually was it seems like the cities that were sort of bidding for being a host city, they had to reinvent the wheel or figure out what was ahead of them. I remember having conversations with one of the possible organizers who asked me, okay, what is it like? And I said, but I realized there is not sort of a standard, apparently, source of information telling them this is what the fans expect during the week. So I literally told him, don't think that during the parties we play regular music. I've heard stories of Ukraine in the past where initially the DJ was playing regular music, and then the fans all there said, what are you doing? Why are you not playing Eurovision? Probably thinking, well, you just had a lot of Eurovision, why do you want more Eurovision? That's the only thing you want for the entire week, right? And I was surprised to find out that they still had to figure that out. So I told them, well, imagine, it's like the World Soccer game coming to your city, and those people want that for the full entire week. So play into that and offer them that. Because I think a lot of time is spent actually already on figuring out what people want, but there is so many data out there on what fans want, how much they spend, what they would like to do, the kind of people you can invite to perform for them. And that will probably save people a lot of time, I think, because one of the things that I'm missing is alternative approaches to the song contest. Well, Eurovision is one, of course, that's sort of a conference and involving the academic society, let's say. But there's so much more going on, right? There is also this beautiful book that was made, a kid's book actually, for Merci, the song.
Merci.
Yeah. And it's interesting that that was also created. So a song leads to a very interesting book that you can read to kids about a refugee. And I'm thinking there must be a lot of people out there actually that don't want to do the bubble or necessarily, or the parties. But they're very much interested in those aspects as well. And I would advise to invest in that as well, trigger that, and trigger a lot of creativity in that sense, in a different way.
Yeah. Just pointing out something which you mentioned, Nuno, and which Alan Tubery already mentioned, was the fact that the Eurovision is a community, but it's a safe community. So this goes in line with what you were just saying about you travel alone, but you're never alone. So it's interesting because there's this idea of a big community of fans and other audiences, but it's a safe community. So you're all right going alone to the cities. But I'd like to ask you something else to both of you, which was something that I previously spoke with Pedro Granger, who unfortunately could not be with us, although we are very pleased to have Nuno here with us as well. And it's this idea of some cities seem to be exactly as they were before, hosting the Eurovision Song Contest. And I remember him mentioning Vienna as, you know, a city which seemed not to have anything particularly different because of hosting the Eurovision Song Contest. On the other hand, there were others that had the Eurovision Song Contest all over the place. So what I wanted to ask both of you is, what do you think these different attitudes tell you about the people of the countries that are hosting the Eurovision Song Contest? I mean, have you had this experience of of going into a city and where's the Eurovision, and others where Eurovision is all over the place? I don't know who wants to begin.
Okay, I can try. Eurovision it's became different along the years, and I think that in around 2004, something like that, it became. We started to see that label, Eurovision with a heart. So Eurovision became a bit different. And I think it was about the organization. The organization, I think it was more local, and now it is supported by, it has a big support, of course. And it also have some kind of structure, plans for doing it in a very organized way, in a very controlled way, I think. And this change along the years, and I think also the cities change along the years and are more prepared. And I think that the more relation the citizens has with Eurovision, um, the more um, the more involved that they, or the best they can embrace Eurovision. If there's a, but Eurovision has been spreading around Europe. For I remember when Riga, when the Eurovision was in Riga in 2003, that I even don't know exactly where Riga was. Yes, around the Baltic, yes, but okay, let's try Riga.
Yeah.
So, right now, if Eurovision was in Riga, I'm sure that it would be more prepared than it was now. And also the number of countries that are taking part increased. So there are more, so it's more people there to make a bigger event. And I think it changes it as well.
Yeah. What about you, Wilfred?
Yeah, you mentioned Vienna, and I was thinking when I went there that the tourist agency actually had several activities on offer for those people who got this package. I think they could spend some time and see how wine was made in Vienna. I think there was also this beautiful concert with a symphonic orchestra happening, which you could attend. So you could actually literally blend in as if you would be a citizen. Which some might argue Vienna didn't do that much in the sense of you're actually offering Eurovision activity, but the city itself already had a lot of activities that you could go to if you just wanted to do something different and blend in with the citizens, right? So that's a good thing. And I also realized that as a city, each and every event that you organize is a lot of work already to arrange in 1 year. I was in Düsseldorf, and I think it was Johnny Logan, Katja Epstein, I think, was there, and there was this Gildo Horn was there, I think, even, and there was this orchestra playing all kinds of Eurovision music, and they all had to arrange that in 1 year. That's just one activity, one evening, 2 hours. So if you want to make sure that all these activities breathe Eurovision, I can imagine it's tough to arrange that. So if a city doesn't decide to organize activities that all have this label of Eurovision, I can see that there is a reason for it. Simply, it might not be doable, or this is just not the way they want to represent themselves.
Exactly. They may not want to validate the event in the same way, or they probably want to validate the city and its cultural environment more than the Eurovision Song Contest itself. I mean, from what I've heard from your experience, Nunu's experience, and Pedro Ganagier's experience, I think we have very different perspectives of hosting a Eurovision Song Contest.
And I think we also have to realize that as fans who are in the bubble, we consider Eurovision to be bigger than life. And that means that everything around us needs to sort of breathe Eurovision. But in essence, and I think that was mentioned by Rotterdam as well, they said, well, you know, in the end, it's a couple of thousand people coming to your city, and Rotterdam has done that before with other events that are big. But if you look in terms, of course it's huge, and a lot of people are traveling back and forth to the arena, but in essence, it's a bunch of artists going to the arena, rehearsing, going back, then doing it for real, then getting a bunch of points, and then going home, and that's it. There's a few people around that sort of music work. See, and there's a few people surrounding that and going to the hotel and sleeping and then going home. That's in essence what it comes down to. In comparison to other big events, you know, we might say it's similar to the Olympics. I don't know, I think that's probably even
soccer
bigger.
championship or something.
Yes.
Yeah, but I can even imagine when you have the Olympics and you organize that parts of the city are simply not focusing on that part because logistically it's not interesting for them to deal with it. Right?
We have also to consider that the mere size of the city is playing in that. I think that Malmö, of course, was more welcoming to Eurovision fans because it's a small place than Istanbul, because there's a difference of several 20 million people. I don't know. But I was still surprised that at least in the main areas Istanbul had so much Eurovision decoration. But lots of other fans mentioned, oh, there was nothing to see in Istanbul because in the place where they were living in the neighborhood, of course, they could not put Eurovision flags in every street.
Yeah, so we are facing a new, this year, a new challenge for Eurovision. For the first time it was cancelled, and for the first time for many fans that travel each year for the host city, this was the first year that they have to be stuck in the sofa and watch again Eurovision through the television. So what is your experience of this cancellation? What you think about it? And your broken expectations, I don't know. And maybe to finish and to wrap up our conversation and to finish with a positive way, not, yeah, we are so sad and stuff like that. What you can say about it? This new experience of Eurovision cancelled and be just a TV show, and what you expect for the future? I don't know who wants to start.
Frustrating because I never imagined that a show like Eurovision, being a TV show for me, could be cancelled. Today we have the alternative. Right now, I'm in the south of Portugal. Wilfred, Irving, we are in different parts of Europe. We have the technology. We are not refugees, and we can do. We have connections to do a show. Of course, not with so much lights. We could, okay, but it would have been something different, more tiny, maybe more focused on the songs. But it was an option, or maybe there wasn't alternative. I don't know. But for me, it was frustrating. Even I was not planning to go to Rotterdam because I was in the Netherlands for 5 of September. But it was really frustrating. For the first time, we don't have a winner, and one of the essence of Eurovision is to have a competition. We didn't have a competition. Without competition, to be honest, I can I can go to YouTube and listen more music from different countries. Today in the 21st century, I don't know. It was a frustration for me. I don't know about you, Wilfred.
Well, initially it was frustrating because it felt like it was taken away from the Netherlands after 44 years. Now I've reached a stage where I'm saying, actually this unique situation is happening while the Netherlands is organizing it. So it's up to the Netherlands maybe once we're back to make some changes. Some people say everything will change and other people say nothing will change. I think there's something in between. Also when it comes to Eurovision, one of the things I really liked is that the fan community came together despite the fact that it was cancelled and actually said, let's create something. So there was, let's say, polls and competitions online for those who wanted it. People still did what they always do when Eurovision is happening, and that is mimicking the sweaters of the Icelandic entry, right? And dancing like them. And that's a nice thing to see happening. But it also has led to things that I actually would love to see coming back, even when the crisis is over. I really enjoyed some of the house concerts that Eurovision organized. Seeing your favorite artist at home in front of the radiator and the kitchen in the background and playing a song, not just their own song, but also someone else's song. And I think on top of that, Eurovision, Europe Shine a Light was there at the right time. Seeing, let's say, people in Italy singing their song on the balconies to connect with each other again, well, that goes back to the essence of what Eurovision should be about, maybe. But I agree with you, it takes away a lot of the excitement when the competition is gone. On the other hand, there are times when I think maybe it should be less about the competition. Sometimes the number 2 or the number 24 in the final is actually something we really start appreciating. Suri, the one who sang for the UK in Lisbon, right? That's someone I still appreciate as an artist, and she didn't win. So for me, the competition is becoming more and more irrelevant in that sense. But I do hope that we'll see some technological innovations as well. One of the things I'm wondering about is if next year in Rotterdam in 2021, there's going to be less people in the audience because more are not allowed and we need to keep a certain distance. Actually, I'm hoping that people at home, they can sort of wear these VR glasses and feel like they're really in the arena. And that is the future of Eurovision. So even if you can't travel, if you can't afford it, you can actually be in the arena with a 360 degrees virtual reality glasses, because the Corona crisis triggered that technological innovation now that everybody is in Zoom, not meeting in person anymore. But the next step is virtual reality and experiencing Eurovision like that.
Why not? Exactly.
Maybe.
That is, I think, a great idea to conclude our session today. I know we're having some technical problems, so I'm not sure if my colleague Irving is able to wrap up. No, I think so. I will then take that role. And on behalf of the Eurovision's team, I want to say first thank you to our guests, Wilfred van Dellen and Non Valerio, for joining us today for the roundtable. Of course, everyone applause, yes, and 12 points to go. And of course, 12 points also for everyone that watched us on Facebook, on YouTube. And, apologies, of course, for the technical problems we're still having. We're going to try to solve this in time for our next session on Thursday. Same place, Facebook, YouTube, same time, depending on where you are, 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. We'll be here. And again, we have very exciting interviews pre-recorded to stream. And also we will have an interval act again, and again, a roundtable at the end. Please check our website, eurovisions.eu, to see our full program and the exciting program that we put together for next Thursday and then for the following Saturday. And of course, applause to everyone. It was a fantastic session. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Wilfred. Thank you, Nuno.
Bye.
And
Thank you.
thank
Bye-bye.
you.
See you around.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice dinner.
Yes, exactly.